week 7 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few players I look to sell and trade this week. The first guy, Derrick Henry of the Tennessee Titans. So Derrick Henry, it's been an up and down season so far for him, and we know he's got a lot of miles throughout his career on his body and a lot of carries. So last week, a good ball game for Derrick Henry versus the Baltimore Ravens, 97 yards and a touchdown. But if it wasn't for that big 60-yard run, I don't think Derrick Henry really wouldn't do much. And now with possibly Ryan Tannehill banged up and he could miss time, it's either going to be Malik Willis or Levis after the bye week coming up for this Tennessee Titan team. So Henry, it was good to see him have a big game. It was good to see him have his value back up. But like I said, if Tannehill's out and they go to one of these younger quarterbacks, and we already know the Tennessee Titans have one of the worst offensive lines in all pro football here, Derrick Henry's teams are going to stack the box even more and try to have Willis or Levis beat him. So right now, after a big game for Derrick Henry, he's definitely a sell-high candidate this week. Next play is Jacobi Meyers of Las Vegas Raiders. So Jacobi Meyers, he's had a good season so far with this Vegas Raider team, but another team right now with quarterback issues. We know Jimmy Garoppolo got hurt. We don't know how long he's going to be out, and now they're going to go, obviously, with either Brian Hoyer or Aiden O'Donnell with this Vegas Raider team. But this week they do have a great matchup with the Chicago Bears, a secondary that we know can't stop anyone. But even though Myers is playing good football, I don't see it keeping up. He took a lot of targets away from Devonta Adams. I don't think it's going to stay. We know Adams isn't 100%, but right now while Myers is playing good football, and we know throughout his career he's been an up and down wide receiver, this is a perfect time to sell him high. And if you want to wait a week after a good matchup here at the Chicago Bears, I could see that as well. But right now, while he's playing great, and you possibly could get a running back in a deal for Myers, especially with all the injuries we've seen over the last few weeks at the running back position, this would be a time to sell him this week. The next play is Michael Pittman of the Indianapolis Colts. And Michael Pittman, he's been playing great football, no doubt about it, this season. Way better than last season after it was a down year for him. But he's another player that I don't think is going to keep it up for fantasy owners in the Indianapolis Colts team. Gardner Minshew's in there at quarterback. Like I said, I know Pittman, he had over 18 fantasy points in PPR leagues, but he's not going to keep this up, I believe, at this pace. This Colts team is a pretty tough matchup coming up at versus the Cleveland Browns, one of the better defenses in the league. In terms of limiting teams and holding teams' points down, we just saw them pretty much shut down San Francisco's offense for the most part. So right now, Michael Pittman, the last few weeks playing good football, but with Gardner Minshew in there quarterback, and with Jonathan Taylor starting to ramp up his activities per week in carries, he's going to touch the ball. I think they're going to run the football a little bit more, is this Indianapolis Colts team. And Michael Pittman, like I said, last season the numbers were down. So far this season they're up, but with Gardner Minshew in there possibly for the remainder of the season, with Richardson in jeopardy of missing the whole year if he gets surgery, he's a sell-high player this week. The next sell-high is Drake London of the Atlanta Falcons. So Drake London, it's been an up-and-down season here for London, and I'm not putting it on Drake London is why he's a player I would sell. I would sell him because Desmond Ridder's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, I believe. I know London's coming off a 125-yard receiving game, which is great, obviously, in last week's game for Drake London in a tough loss versus the Washington Commanders. But right now, pretty tough matchup with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I know Amon-Ra St. Brown tore them up over 100 yards in that game, but Drake London, he's not on the level or route running ability of St. Brown. So right now with Desmond Ridder, who's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, like I mentioned, and Drake London, just inconsistent numbers on and off, even the end of last season and this season. Like if Taylor Heineke became the starting quarterback, I'd be more comfortable with Drake London in my lineup, and a guy to count on week in and week out is a number 2 wide receiver or flex option. But right now with Desmond Ridder in there, an inconsistent quarterback and just an inconsistent passing game, he's a wide receiver and a player I look to sell this week. The next sell is Zach Moss of the Indianapolis Colts. Zach Moss, I know he's in the top 10 in fantasy points this season at the running back position, and him and Jonathan Taylor, it was a good 1-2 punch in the loss at the Jacksonville Jaguars. But like I said, Jonathan Taylor's getting this big money contract. He signed 3 years, $42 million, and I think the carries are going to go up weekly for Taylor. So right now, he got a decent amount of touches in week 6 with Taylor, and now in week 7 versus the Browns in a grinded out type of game, I think the carries are going to go up more and Morses are going to go down. So right now, no doubt about it, Zach Moss playing great football, like I said, this season. But with Taylor's contract and with him trying to get back into football shape and his stamina up, which weekly his carries are going to go up, Zach Moss is going to lose playing time, and he's going to be a player that's going to be one of the best handcuffs, if not the best handcuffs in fantasy football. He's still going to get work, but not enough impact work in the next few weeks as it comes on. So right now, Morse might have some fantasy value the next week or two, but after that, I believe Jonathan Taylor, 75-80% of the touches. The next sells Adam Thielen of the Carolina Panthers. Adam Thielen, he's been a man on a mission this season, no doubt about it. After last year was a down year, and a lot of people thought he was washed, including his former team, the Minnesota Vikings, cutting him loose and not wanting to pay him the rest of the contract. So right now, Adam Thielen, number one target over there with the Panthers. I believe the Panthers could trade him towards the deadline, which is the end of the month here, to a team that needs a wide receiver. So Thielen, we know he's one of the better possession wide receivers in the last 5 years. Last season definitely was a down year, but this year he's putting up monster numbers, and he's a wide receiver in the top 10 as well in fantasy points. But I don't know if it's going to keep up for this Panther team. I think defenses, they got to start rolling more coverage Adam Thielen's way. And Frank Reich, he gave up play calling now. Offensive coordinator here for this Panther team is going to be play calling after the bye week. But right now, Adam Thielen's playing out of this world and playing great football, and I just don't know if it's going to be sustainable, where he's pretty much the only threat on the outside, where if I'm an opposing team, I'm double teaming him at this point, is Adam Thielen with a corner and a safety over the top. So right now, playing great football, no doubt about it, but I just don't think these numbers are going to keep up here for Thielen, and he's a definite sell-high player this week. And the final player I look to sell in trades, Devonta Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles. So Devonta Smith, this season, he was a second, third rounder in most fantasy leagues. I know he's an explosive player, but this Eagle team, they got a lot of mouths to feed on the offense. A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, DeAndre Swift out of the backfield, and Devonta Smith, every 3-4 weeks it seems like he has that big 25, 30-point fantasy game, and there's games where he only scoring 7 to 10 fantasy points. So right now he's an inconsistent wide receiver, even though, like I said, a game-breaking, big play wide receiver. Just a lot of boom and bust ball games it's been for Devonta Smith. So right now, if you want some more consistency at the wide receiver position, or you're in need of a running back with all the injuries this season, J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubb, McCaffrey now Kyron Williams banged up, Najee Harris not performing, Saquon in and out of the lineup. So with a lot of these injuries at the running back position, to be honest, a guy like Devonta Smith, who's been a boom or bust receiver this season, I look to sell and trade this week. So that's a few plays I look to sell and trade here for week 7 of the fantasy football season.